Welcome, everybody, to another episode of UFO Man Live. Tonight, we have a special guest, the man, the person himself, Mauricio Ruiz, from Mauricio Ruiz's official YouTube channel. Welcome, Mauricio.
Welcome. Nice to have me around.
Yeah, welcome. Now we're going to introduce to the other people on our panel, starting with Tommy Highway.
Hi, folks. I'm Tommy Highway. I'm a network engineer. I'm a former government employee. I'm a ufologist and an author. Been involved in the ufology situation since I was a child, living near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Tim, thank you, my brother, as always, for having me. And folks, thanks for coming out for us.
You're more than welcome. Thomas, introduce yourself. You're muted.
So there we go. That's all taken care of. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Tim, Tommy, and Mauricio. Great to be here tonight. I'm Thomas L. FESSLER. I'm a ufologist and ancient alien theorist advocating for disclosure, practicing remote viewing, non-local consciousness, and vibratory spirituality. As always, it's great to be here, Tim. Thanks for being here. Why don't you introduce yourself as well?
Oh, yeah, I always forget that. My name is Tim. I'm also known as UFO Man. So if you see the name on YouTube or on our new website, www.ufomannetwork.com, that's me. Okay. And it was created, by the way, the new website was created by Tommy Highway. Thank you, Tommy.
My pleasure.
Okay. All right, tonight we're going to start with our UFO video review like we normally do. Let's go. Okay.
Moving. These are probably drones. Drones? I've never seen drones with lights like that. What the hell is that? And it's still moving. They're moving slowly. Very slowly.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure, but they're in sync. They're like all the same speed. Look, one's moving fast now. Look at that. Why would they do that? What the hell is that? The airport's right there. It shouldn't be shit flying over the airport.
Nope. There we go. We got 10 of them, guys. I've been talking about this. We're going from 6,
Look at that.
10. When are we going to see 20 to 30 plus in our skies at a time?
We
airport's right
actually
there. There
have
shouldn't
over the
be shit
years.
flying over
So
there.
Yeah, but there's more frequently, and
Look, one's moving fast now.
these guys are forcing disclosure.
Why would they do
Absolutely.
that?
If those were small drones, let's say, they're awfully bright and they're moving awfully fast for small drones.
Flying over the airport.
I mean, a small drone only travels so far so fast.
Yeah,
These things are moving around like almost like billiard balls.
Plane above,
Yeah.
way higher, you can see
and there's
it.
an Air Force base right there. So that's airspace that nothing should be in. Well, except the UAPs or UFOs because they own the airspace.
okay, I gotta put this on.
7.
That's some alien shit. Like,
Look at that.
bro, I just
Big
want
Dipper.
to see what it is. Are you trying to do that?
Yeah.
Bro, let's go.
Hell no. I'm not going near that one.
What is that?
Look, bro.
That's so close.
Okay, he says basically the same thing. I had to edit out quite a bit of this video because there was a lot of swearing.
A
So
lot of expletives, huh? Well,
Yeah,
people
a
get
lot of
excited.
expletives.
They drop the bombs here or there, but
Well, let's ask our guest, Mauricio. What do you think about this one, sir?
It's a revelation. They're revealing themselves. Obviously, they're amongst us, and they don't respect gravity. They don't respect Earth elements. They're intergalactic. They're here on their own account, and they're self-sufficient. They don't need nothing from planet Earth. They only need the space where they're flying around, and we just
Right.
saw that right there. They're on their own.
This one has no audio.
is that a
This
cigar?
is a cigar or a cylinder craft, and it passed right by the airliner Jetstream.
Yeah.
Now I will get closer so you can see it.
Well, it's one of our cigars. Not one of ours, but looks like the one that was photographed over Manhattan in, what was that, 1948.
It just doesn't match any sort of terrestrial craft that we have. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't have anything that hangs like that. That's not a blimp,
No,
obviously.
Correct.
That's
no
It seems
wings.
too straight.
Interstellar.
no flight surfaces of any kind, no propulsion system that obvious. I mean,
Yeah, it seems
Yep.
too straight for a balloon too, because a balloon usually has a little bit of a curve to it
Yeah.
toward the end. Now here's the bigger picture.
Yeah,
There's a little bit of a white
that's a
glare
disturbance.
or something right there. Yeah.
Yeah, but look at the
Not the
bottom of it
surface.
around it. That's the typical energy field you'll see around it where you'll get some
Yeah,
distortion
right
going
here.
on.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right
along
there.
the top
Yep.
of it too.
Yep.
Almost surrounding it like a halo.
Here's a clip of a fast-moving UAP
Oh,
over South Korea, filmed on 4/14/2021.
there it comes. Wow.
Take a look. It's coming really quickly toward
Wow.
you from the mountains in the background. Here it comes. You can see it in the red circle.
Tim, real
Really
quick, Tim, if you could pause that.
arrow Okay,
that I
sure.
put up to point where it is.
We have someone in the chat asking a question. I believe it was about the last video and asking where and when did the footage take place. Do we have any info on that?
You talking about the cylinder?
I'm sorry.
That appeared over Mexico City. Yeah, I have to remember. That was on 4/7/2020.
Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
recent.
Yes. No jams.
They've been
It's
around
not
for the
it's not
longest.
a frisbee.
Yeah, they've been around for the longest, and they're still happening,
Here it comes. It goes. What it is unknown. Make an assessment.
Oops, sorry. I'm going to go back to
Two
the
still
beginning of
shots
this.
that are kind of blurry, but you're able to see the object. Make an assessment. Let me know what you think. And as always, thank you for watching.
Here it comes. Boom. Now it's really hard to see. I put filters on it, but I don't know what it is. So it's really hard. Now, this was captured on a show called Connected on Netflix recently.
Wow. Typical saucer.
Yep. Well defined, very well defined.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere.
I'd almost put that one in almost too good to be true category, to be honest.
Almost, yeah. The one thing I was suggesting is that the object is actually farther away from the plane than it appears.
Mm-hmm.
So it must be bigger, I guess.
Stop it here. See this right here? I think it's farther away from the plane than it looks.
Yeah.
Because if it was real close to the plane, it'd have to be really small. So I'm assuming that it's farther away and it's actually larger, much larger.
Yes. Yes. Wow.
And it just doesn't get much better than that, really.
Thomas?
Yes.
Give Through the Veil Paranormal a wrench.
I can't give people a wrench. Only you can do that, Tim.
Oh, I can do it. I think I can do it.
Okay, yeah, Tommy, please do. Okay, yeah, this is the picture of the disc.
No, I can't actually.
Only
You can't. Nicole, I'll give you one a little later. I promise. Okay, this is the disc UFO close-up.
Well-defined shape. Wow.
Oh, wow.
No.
Dropping things again.
Jesteś na plaży teraz?
This happened over the Baltic
Obserwujesz te ognie,
Sea.
które wchodzą w atmosferę? No właśnie to filmujemy. No powiem ci, siedzimy przy cyplu, no coś niesamowitego.
They're filming
I
it
to
from the
już nie to,
beach.
że to...
Yeah, look at the energy halo around this thing. It's got almost no,
jakiś
is it
wielki
almost like a reddish
w atmosferę,
tint to it, but the craft are doing yellow.
Słuchaj, takie wiesz, ta końcówka jego.
Yeah, Baltic Sea, there are a ton of sightings up there, too.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Yeah, this was said to have occurred right
No nie
over
wiem,
the
czy są
Baltic Sea
zakłócenia, czy nie, ale
anomaly
słuchaj, no po
location.
prostu
Yeah.
to jest coś, że słyszałem.
I've
że-
seen a good 100 videos of UFOs up there. There's someone from a photography club or something who records them all the time.
Magda nakręca, no kręcimy to, ale to jest niesamowite, słuchaj, nie wiem, czy to będzie,
Yes.
słuchaj, coraz więcej takich właśnie rozbłysków jest, no coś niesamowitego. Słuchaj, to powiem ci, wiesz, ile tu kasa, cały czas latają kasy. Ale to jest mało, bo tu jest Gdańsk, słuchaj, tu jest Gdańsk, no Magda jak go słyszy tylko jakąś taką teorię, to wie. No i ostatni kawałek się dopala teraz. Ostatni kawałek został. A tyle. No z takimi trzaskami, no to, ale przypuszczam, że to jest chyba normalne. No i teraz patrzymy, jak księżyc właśnie wychodzi za horyzontu.
Zachmurnie.
Zachmurnie.
Yeah, look at that.
There's just nothing natural about that. It shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's doing something and dropping something off down into the water.
Or it's hanging something underneath it, maybe. Is that dropping or is it just hanging?
It's dropping. It's going down. There's another one going.
Yeah.
It's either that or it's dropping off things, but you can
Looks like it's dropping liquid metal almost.
maybe liquid metal would stay hotter for a longer period of time. We just don't know.
Not necessarily. Not what I saw. It burned out pretty quick, actually.
Could it be small drones, maybe? Small drones, like...
Well, coming off of it, yeah. It could be additional ships or additional things that they're dropping off the main one, yeah.
Reconnaissance. Maybe they build reconnaissance and then they go back to it. It's actually, it's doing a mission. It's doing something.
Yeah.
It has a mission and a purpose, and it's well-defined.
And we all know they love water.
Yeah, and they're in a tactical formation, so they're doing something over there. Something,
yeah, they keep their main shape at the top.
Yeah, there's something. Well, there's a lot of activity going on in the Baltic Sea right now between the United States and Russia. So I'm sure they're getting, spending some time in the area.
Sure, and they've got every eye in the sky that in the Ukraine right now that there is looking up.
Hey, John, welcome.
So this thing just turns into a single dot of light at the end, and then they stop filming. I have no clue why.
other than, you know, the usual causes. Maybe their camera ran out of battery strength. Yeah.
On my situation, that UFO sucked up the juice from a camera. I mean, from the battery, it sucked it up. It drained it real fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
That could very well be the case in this one.
You know, you got to wonder if it's something that's intentional or there's something from the energy field where it's just picking up all the free energy in the area and just
combination, probably combination.
Yeah,
sucking the photons out of everything.
We'll know more. You know,
that's well defined. I mean, you can't fake something like that. It's long and it's well defined and gave us a lot of details.
Yes.
And it hung there for a while apparently as well. So it's not like it was a flash in the pan thing, was there and was gone. I mean, that stood there and it didn't really do anything other than drop that stuff.
Yeah,
very interesting.
I just gotta take this out. Hold on. Remove. Okay. All right. Hope you enjoyed the UFO video review. We're going to move on now to interviewing our friend and our guest, Mauricio Ruiz. Welcome, Mauricio, again. We're going to go around the panel, take a question from each person on the panel, and ask you as we come up with a question for you. I have a question for you, Maurice. Yes. Mauricio, what can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you initially got involved with ufology?
Real quick, I always worked law enforcement. I worked law enforcement. I always wore a badge and a gun, obviously, and I exercised authority over civilians. So I have to be of good, my mind has to be in good state of mind, obviously. So with that said, I retired from the state of Texas with full benefits, and I had nothing against me. They held me back from retiring with, proper credits. So with that said, I'm a retired state correctional officer and from law enforcement, from police departments as well. And I worked on and off different departments. But in my mind, ufology, or anything related to it was not in my mind. Only on magazines when I was younger. Eric Von Däniken and, Chariots of the Gods, but that's about it. Until April 11, 2008. I had my first sighting. I put it on a smaller camera than this. I still got this is my beauty right here. I don't leave home without it, okay? So what I did, I captured an object that looked kind of odd, to my eyes, and I captured it. And at first I couldn't relate to it. I had no idea. And I just went and put it on YouTube. I had only about 20 followers. My channel actually was about dogs, little chihuahuas, little pets. That's why you hear me holding my camera, videotaping the object, and two dogs were there next to me. That's what it was all about, little doggies, and I only had a few followers, but I decided to upload that videotape to YouTube. Just to share it with a few people and say, hey, if anybody saw it, let me know. Man, from there on, I was bombarded with people asking me, what is it? All this. And I couldn't relate to answers so fast. Some thought it was a fake. Some thought it was, something as usual. And then Jaime Maussan came to my house and then other UFO investigators, and it opened up more and more people got to see it. And I started to say, wait a minute, take this video, analyze it, and leave me alone. Let me put my head together. And so after I had already retired from law enforcement, I decided to go into my own business. But at the same time, I wanted to do just what you're doing right now on your channel. Just exactly what you're doing. Analyze new video footage from other people. And I'm stuck to it. So far, I'm just there to promote information. Okay, information, not my mentality, what I think about it. Promote information and my way of seeing things. These things are not from this world. That's all I could say.
Right. Would you like us to show your video clip of what you saw?
By all means.
Okay, hold on a second here. We will do so.
Wow, that is just amazing. This is some of the best UAP UFO footage that I've seen, Mauricio. Wow. Just sitting out there.
You can hear birds in the background. You can hear dogs panting. That thing's not making a sound.
Not at all.
And
Not at all.
you can actually hear the dogs growling, which is interesting.
They were in shock. I never seen my little Chihuahua dog growl at something that they can't relate to. And I was actually kneeling down, holding my camera. I'm just going to do a little step. Like I was going like this. And at the same time, I was trying to hold on to my little doggies to say, hey, just chill. You know, I don't know what it is. And I kept looking with my video cam. I was using one, but it was a mini cam, a smaller scale. Okay. This is a high 8 and I still use it. Now, with that said, I couldn't relate to it for a couple of weeks. I couldn't relate to it. And I still, it goes over my head. What was it? But it gently glided away. Gently. It was like doing reconnaissance or observation. But I saw like, I don't know, like lights at the bottom. Man, I don't know. I'm still trying to relate what the heck was it. Maybe it was a pre-drone. Nowadays, we got drones that are in similarity to it. They're round and they have lights. But this was 2008, April 11, 2008. Not too many people had drones out there.
No fan.
Right. I do have a picture of it up close. Here it is.
There it is.
You can see the lights on the bottom, and you can kind of see some lights on the side. There are some lights here on the side, and there's 2 or 3 on the bottom. And then I want to show this. This is a comparison picture. There was a UFO that was seen thousands of miles away on a different date altogether that resembles the one he filmed. And if you take a good look at the one that Mauricio filmed, there are lights around the side of the bottom section.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the one that was filmed on the right was just a different model, but with the same lights. So it's very interesting that that's out there.
Yes.
Mauricio,
yes.
Tell us about this.
Yes.
What Jaime Maussan did for you.
Jaime Maussan actually, he flew from, believe it or not, he was holding conference. It was a UFO conference in Los Angeles. When Santiago Ituria, and I think he passed away, rest in peace. He was his right-hand side guy that always, looked at the internet and say, hey, wait a minute, Jaime, I just come about this amazing UFO sighting. You need to see it. Jaime Maussan didn't request the video by mail or send it to me. No, he said, I'm flying to Houston now. He called in a special plane. He got on a plane. He came straight on to Houston, straight. He ended up in Intercontinental Airport at Bush Intercontinental. I had to go pick him up out there because he had no time to spend. He said, you need to pick me up, bring me to your house, and we need to go through all this. He was shocked that I still had the original footage on my camera, on my smaller scale camera. And he said, listen, is this the real footage? I said, that's the original. He said, can I make a copy duplicate? And I said, no, take the whole deal. Analyze it, please. Please do whatever you need. He flew back to Mexico City, took it to the university, La Universidad Autónoma de Mexico, which is a university in Mexico that has back then, a high technological analysis. They did it went through a lot of what they call analysis, data analysis from everything. It was declared genuine. The video was not altered. It was not tampered with. It was intact. However, it had glitches of magnetic field distortion. Now, Jaime Maussan paid hundreds of dollars to get it analyzed. That's why I never sold the video or asked for money. I said, whatever money you save from me, use it for, what they call analysis. You pay it out of your own pocket, which he did. Then he passed
Right.
it on to Open Minds TV. And Open Minds TV did the same thing here in the United States. They decided to secure the whole tape and video. They said, this is a gold mine. We're going to secure it. We're going to lock it up. And we're going to call in a special team later as they got better data or better equipment. And we're going to get to the bottom why there was distortion. So it's still in the hands of, Open Minds TV. But that thing was amazing. That's how it all started. And from there on, you've seen it all over the world. They use it for basic clips. Mr. Greer, Dr. Greer has even called me if I give him the rights to own that video. I said it's in the hands of Open Minds. So I have already turned down 7 major UFO investigators that offer me money, compensation, royalties, everything, and it's no longer in my hands. I let it go because I don't profit from none of this. I just want investigation to be done.
Right. That's the way it should be.
Like a true ufologist.
Like a true ufologist. Exactly, Tommy. Great comment. Mm-hmm. Tommy, do you have a question for Mauricio?
Actually, I do. Mauricio, first of all, it's an honor to meet you, sir. I am aware of your sighting and have been since it happened. It was a big sighting. In fact, it was one of the biggest sightings of that time.
Thank you.
And I do remember the analysis that went into it and all the buzz that it created. What you've got there, in my opinion, is a genuine alien spacecraft on film. And this is actually on film. This isn't a digital copy or anything like that. We're talking about this was done on high 8, which,
yes,
in terms of film, doesn't get much better than that.
No,
it really doesn't. So the fact that you've got that is just absolutely, it's mind blowing.
Yeah,
I can absolutely understand why every other UFO outlet out there wanted to, to basically have a look at this thing, because it's amazing. I mean, again, it has the object itself, it has the background noise, it has the camera shake, things of that nature, all the things that would make a sighting that's recorded authentic, you have right there. And that's why everybody loves this one, Mauricio.
Thank you. Thank you.
The one thing that I noticed that was really important to me was the motion of the lights underneath. You could actually see them move and actually change position.
It was like going around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you could see him, but at the same time, the object remained like still. I don't know how things. Like I said, I'm still trying to, bring back the day, and I don't know, my friend. I have nightmares sometimes that thing got bigger and bigger, and it came and not abducted me, but just landed right there in front of me. So it still goes in my mind. It changes your life.
Oh yeah,
right.
Sure, you bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did. Thomas, it changed all of ours.
Yes, it changed ours. Yeah. Thomas, do you have a question?
Yeah, Mauricio, the footage is phenomenal. I'm sure the experience was definitely life-changing and everything. And our conversation we had early in this week before this broadcast, one of the people you talked about that was really amazing and how he came and visited you was James Fox.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Oh, yes. First of all, I wanna thank James Fox and 27 other people that came with him. Alvin, Texas was actually, it looked like a movie set. They came in on a U-Haul, and then another U-Haul, 2 U-Hauls came in to my house. They had props, they had equipment. It looks like they were filming a major Hollywood movie. James Fox came in and 2 other, UFO investigators. They came in because there was a time that Stephenville had a sighting, and Texas was being a little bit, of a hot, deal going on with UFO sightings. So they decided to come from LA, from wherever they were. They huddled up on U-Hauls, came into my house, and he came and said, Mr. Ruiz, I wouldn't be here if I think this thing was a hoax. I'm not going to spend all this money. And I have video footage and pictures of those U-Hauls, the equipment they brought with them, the staff, the meals they had to eat, the hotels they had to stay. It was a big investment. Okay, when they saw that video, which, I didn't have it by that time, that Jaime Maussan had it, and then Open Minds, but they used a portion of that video like the one you showed. They said, this is amazing. We had to go ahead and do a documentary on it. So they did. And, his conclusion was, Mr. Ruiz, you got the best UFO sighting I have ever seen up to now. However, we have to debate it. We have to challenge it. I said, sir, with due respect, That's what you're here for. You're not here to compliment me. You're here to tear me up. You're here to squeeze the juice out of me to see if I'm lying or not. But I'm just going to say the whole story. I didn't profit from it. I passed it on for research. You're welcome to analyze. He said, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. That's where he stayed. He went to other places to gather some more data, more information. He said, Mr. Ruiz, I'll get back with you later. He called me back later. He said, you know what? A lot of people are going to tear you up on this one. They're going to see how the heck you managed to pull this one. And I don't think you pulled a trick, because you could have done it twice, 3 times, and keep on, making money. But you're not. You're not even asking us for royalty. I signed a form that they could do whatever they want free of charge. Nothing, no compensation for me.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of hours, a lot of family hours, just going on interviews and stuff like that, and never collected a penny up to now.
Mauricio, if I may, we have a question from the chat room from Zofi,
Yes.
I believe it is. And it's, what is your opinion on these beings? Are these beings' origin? Are they extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or time travelers, etc.?
You could call, I would say, all of the above. But what I know for a fact, and this is for a fact, Luis Elizondo knows for a fact, and the government knows for a fact, this is the real reason why UFOs don't respect gravity. They don't respect our atmosphere. They don't respect nothing. There are actually interstellar vehicles. They dodge big chunks of meteorites, rocks, small pellets. Even the space shuttle has to dodge, so the ISS, they have to dodge little things. This thing have come from billions and billions of miles in space. And they, just like that Huma, that big, chunk of, they dodge every pellet, every possible thing that will destroy them. They dodge, they weave around. And you know what? Where they come from, a lot of planets don't have water. They don't have oxygen. They don't have gravity. They don't have nothing. You think planet Earth is going to stop them from doing things that they're already used to? They come to planets that don't have water, oxygen, or anything. They just fly at their own will. So they come prepared to come to planet Earth, do what they have to do reconnaissance, do collection or whatever, and they don't need oxygen. They don't need space. They don't need time. They just need the what they call the interdimensional aura. It's an aura. Like a little baby that's in the womb of a mom. He goes everywhere with the mother. He don't have to breathe oxygen. He don't have to get nothing, because he's within the mother's, placenta. He's growing into a baby. So these crafts are protected by a placenta, by something that does not allow them to be destroyed. And they don't have to even crash with anyone, because they already dodged billions of objects along the way. You think a little plane is gonna get in their way? That's why they dodge real fast. The tic-tac showed David Fravor. We're here not to fool around, but we're here to get out of your way. They will get out of your way. We're the ones that get in their way. But they're smart. They go around and take off. That's why you don't ever see a UFO crash in your front yard and pieces, of debris. They're too smart.
If I may just say one little thing, Mauricio, I think when you're saying they don't respect, the air and the sea and everything, it's more that it's not that they didn't respect it. They've mastered it at a level that's way beyond what we're capable of.
Yes, they master our elements, our main elements, components. They do. They master everything. Gravity, they master air, they master anything, and they even master to the point where if you're gonna get in their way, even shoot a bullet or a missile or whatever, they are 3 steps ahead of you before that thing gets to them. They already know where you're gonna send to them. That's why David Fravor, when he tried to do something, this tic-tac maneuver the opposite, because he knew they're already ahead of space, time, and they could go behind and they could go in front. They know, like a mirror. They see us coming through a mirror.
They're able to absolutely negate terrestrial physics. I mean, completely. Whether you're talking about their propulsion or the speed at which they travel, I mean, it's just amazing. And again, and even the government at this point is coming out, which just surprises me. But they're coming out. There was recently a video dropped where more amazing footage of UFOs that were behaving in a manner that we just cannot do.
Correct. I gotta say that I think a lot of UFO pilots, or the people or beings that are piloting these craft,
anticipate our actions through thought.
Yes. Yes.
So they know telepathically. This is just my theory. They know telepathically what we're going to do before we do it, so they're able to react. And
absolutely,
if they're millions of years ahead of us, perhaps then their brain power is also a million years ahead of us.
Yes.
And they're able to use their full brain, whereas we're only being able to use 10% of our own.
Correct. You know what? Them UAPs, when they come around and they do whatever they have to do, they don't hide from us. They don't hide from us, but they're very intelligent to do their things and not interfere with our daily lives. But our eyes are the ones that gets to see them, but they don't want to do nothing other than reconnaissance, their mission that they have. They have been here for the longest. They will be here later. I think after we become extinguished as humans, they're still going to be around doing whatever they have to. This is a big world. We're a small planet to us humans, but this is a big world for them.
Okay, I got to take a little break here because we had a super sticker. So here we go. Nancy Volker, thank you very much for your super sticker. Much appreciated by the UFO Man channel.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay. All righty. Mauricio, what I was going to ask you is this. You were telling us the other night in our pre-interview gathering, you were saying that you received a lot of threats and a lot of people ridiculing you for your sighting. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's very common. A lot of people, obviously, let me just advise to anyone that's going to have a first sighting, okay? Don't be scared. Go ahead and let it out. I mean, share it. Now, they're going to throw bombs at you. They're going to throw hostile, ways, the news media or the media itself, social media. Some will come straight to you and compliment you. They'll say, hey, that's a great footage right there. We believe you. Others will say, hey, with a CGI, you definitely pulled a good one right there. Then others will say, you know what? I don't know how you did it, but we're going to find out. So you're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll be honest. I let go of the ugly. I let it go. The bad, I kind of held on a little bit to the bad. I have to hear bad negatives, or negative vibes, That's how things work. If you don't hear the bad side of what they think about you, you think you're doing right. But when they say, hey, how come he shut the camera prematurely? That doesn't make sense. Well, I have no control over the batteries. If this thing drained the battery, it shut down. Well, how come the dogs were growling and they were not? I don't have control. Let me tell everybody, when you have a sighting and you put a camera and you get your camera as fast as you can and you put it on video and record, you have no control of how the UFO is going to look. You have no control. You have control on your actions. Record, stop, move the camera. That's the way you control your actions. But whatever's out there, they're in control. So if that thing will disappear right there in a flash and you say, I thought I had it and it's no longer there, they're going to call you a liar. They're going to say, yeah, it's good to narrate. You had a big, UFO and now all of a sudden it disappears. Big deal. See, you have no control. These things are in control of how they're going to come out. Believe me, you might have a good sighting, but somehow this thing will distort the camera. It will send something to the camera lens that it might just look blurry. That's why the go fast, that everything that the government will present to us from now on, sometimes they're in a blurry state of, capture. Sometimes these people are so excited, they don't have time to do all the focusing. You get whatever you want to get as soon as you get it. Let them analyze it. Let them go ahead and do some extra analysis on it. And sure, things will shape up later. But do not be scared. Grab your camera, share it, and don't let the threats come to you. Shut them down. If you have a lot of people threatening you, you don't have to deal with them legally. You could just let them go. I mean, just put them on block. Yeah, the law enforcement will come and assist you if they keep threatening you or your family. only government officials, to be honest, will be behind you, constantly nagging you. Don't go beyond here. Let somebody handle it. Put the thing away. And you get the feeling who you're dealing with, because UFO aficionados and people that are like on this channel, they're not gonna turn you down. They're gonna encourage you to come forth and give more data. Only government officials will call you and say, hey man, you need to stop what you're doing. You know, this is serious. You're getting a lot of people panicking. If you start some stuff, we'll come to your house. We'll grab the thing. But see, conspiracy, anybody could have it in their mind. I only have what they call consideration for the people that need to know. That's why I don't fear. They shut me down on YouTube. They shut me down. They worked against me, and they were successful. They shut down YouTube channel, but not the messenger. I will carry on with another channel.
Right, and you're doing very well, Mauricio. I've seen your other channel, and it's very well done, and you're doing very well. We would like to thank you for being on here for the interview. Any last questions, guys?
Just one thing, and I don't say this very often, Mauricio, and I'll be honest with you about that. You're doing God's work, sir. You really are.
Thank you.
You're really a lot for ufology. I think you're an unsung hero, and we, really very fortunate to have you here.
Yes, and we would like to have you again on our channel for another interview.
Yeah.
Thomas, anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say thanks, Mauricio, for being here. Mauricio, if you could take a minute and tell us a bit about your current YouTube channel and what it's about and kind of where you're kind of going with it these days.
Yes, Thomas, I do appreciate my friend, as well as, you all. Listen, guys, to be honest, when I lost my main channel on YouTube, and I had, this is for real, I had a one video that had 4 million views and another one with 4 million. I had two videos that totaled 8 million views, okay, among others. But guess what? When YouTube let me go and they shut me down, I had to restart again on this other channel, Mauricio Ruiz official YouTube channel. The reason that I put Mauricio Ruiz official YouTube channel, people remember me by my name when I had the UFO sighting, Mauricio Ruiz. When they Google Mauricio Ruiz, that's when my channel comes out. I could have gone and said, the UFO phenomena or UAP, but that's not gonna put my face on the channel itself. So I respect people that have like a title to their channel. Is good. It's good. But when they're looking for you and they say, what happened to the guy that had the UFO channel with the real? See, I have to then put my name, Mauricio Ruiz UFO channel. I mean, Mauricio Ruiz official YouTube channel. The reason I don't use UFO or UAP, I don't want to be tracked by someone to say, we're going to get the channel. See, I don't know. I have this little phobia. It's just personal. That if I use the word UFO or UAP or something similar in my on my YouTube channel, somebody's going to come after me. So guess what I'm going to do? From now on, my channel will be having a link to this channel also. Because if I ever get to be wiped out, there's some memories on this channel that I left behind. And I want to promote this channel as my secondary of choice, for me to move on. In case you see my channel disappear, don't worry. Follow this channel and I'll come to you guys and do, on and off interviews, and you're going to get to see me more. So YouTube cannot shut me down all the way. They could bump me out, but I always come back.
We certainly appreciate that, Mauricio, and we'd like to also offer you a spot on our new website. It's for you folks out there, it's www.ufomannetwork.com. We got a friends link out there. We'd like to go ahead and put your information on there and consider you one of the channel friends.
Yeah,
and my friend,
people can look.
You guys are great. I'd like to say you guys are great. You impress me. I normally get a lot of interview requests, and I kind of play it off and not that I don't want to, but I look at the channel itself, and I think if they're going to be serious-minded and they're going to be on a long haul, I want to be with them. But if I'm going to have somebody just to, just to tear me up and not give me a serious consideration, I don't have time. I have family. I have a lot of things to do rather than to spend time. This channel is worth it.
We do have serious consideration for your channel.
people can locate you through your link on our website when we get it posted. And
is it in the comments of this of this broadcast, Tim?
It will be afterwards. Yes. Your link and your channel will be in the summary after the broadcast.
Please, everyone, go out there, subscribe to Mauricio's site on YouTube. He's a great guy. He's got great community out there, and he's part of our, of the people we're interviewing. So it'd be really appreciative if you would do that for us.
Yes,
Thomas, I do appreciate you, my friend. You have a lot to say also in this community. Thomas,
thank you.
all, Tommy, and Tim. I couldn't say no more than you lifted my spirit again, because I was kind of down a little bit because what they're trying to say with this UAP, they're trying to downplay it. They're trying to say everything's CGI.
Right.
I don't believe that. I believe this cosmic cousins of ours. They're here to protect us. They're here to do something, and we just have to let them do their business, and they're gonna let us do ours. But harmony. It's always there. Harmony, unity.
Right, Mauricio, the next segment we're doing is disinformation or counterintelligence, based on that podcast by John Grindelwald from the Black Vault. He was bringing up the idea that perhaps there's another level to the UAPTF report, rather than just revealing actual UAPs and actual UFOs. Maybe they're spreading a little bit of disinformation. And what we want to do is just put the information out there and have people make up their own mind. And that's what we do on this channel. We don't try to make up minds for other people. We let them, the viewers and the people in the chat room, make up their own minds.
Yeah, and one thing to consider along those lines, Tim, is a lot of the information we have out there from ufology. It could be the secret space program. It could be other things. There's a lot of information that's been put out by their government as disinformation to make us sound like a whole bunch of tinfoil hat wearing freaking kooks and crackpots. So we just have to, take it small, but know there's a good core there, but there's a lot of BS around it.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to show a segment here called Disinformation or Counterintelligence. Take a listen to this, because they are a couple of podcasts. So take a listen. Here we go. Mauricio, you've seen this one because it's on your channel as well.
Okay.
Why would they just kind of go, we have no idea what this is? If this truly is from a UAP report, if the context is that it actually is still labeled unidentified, maybe that's by design. Maybe journalists, not only Tim, this isn't against him, but journalists that are publishing this stuff actually believe that the government doesn't know what some of it is. And so it tells the public, wow, the government's really stupid and inept. They don't know what they're doing. They can't even tell that this is a Batman balloon. And of course, that ridicule against the government may be what they want. For years, they tried to label UFOs and got themselves tripped up. Again, Roswell, hello. How many times did they change their tune? Why? Because of people through the years, like my friend, the late Stanton Friedman, who would drill and drill and drill and challenge the company line. So maybe this is just simply the same cover-up and conspiracy, but with a new tactic. Just say, hey, we have no idea what's going on, and give the aura of being clueless, when in reality, you have two sides to the UAP issue. One, the Batman balloons. Those are the cases that you actually can verify. Those are the cases that you actually can solve. But make the public think you can't. Make them think that you're completely inept.
That's pretty
You're the most highly trained intelligence officials ever, but you can't figure out a Batman balloon? I'm here to say they probably did. And when the skeptical responses to the FLIR 1 and the gimbal and the Go Fast video came out, and balloons were attributed to that also, a lot of people labeled those skeptics and debunkers as being big meanies. How dare they say that? It's really weird, though, that official documents about those videos say exactly that. Balloons. Are these the visuals in the UAP manuals and reports of saying, look, this is what we can achieve through investigation. We can identify these. But these other ones, we can't. These other ones are the highly classified ones that are not American tech. Those aren't the ones leaking out. But when you look at the actual documents and it shows you verification of what the skeptics are saying, if you don't know what this document is, this is the DD Form 1910 that Luis Elizondo had filled out, which described the FLIR 1 gimbal and Go Fast videos up here. What were they? This was for a classification review, so they could use it to help identify, analyze, and ultimately defeat unmanned aviation system threats. Those are drones, if you're not familiar with the acronym. It was never meant to be released to the public. I've done a lot of videos on this. I'm not trying to beat that dead horse. What I'm trying to say is this document here actually supports the theory that this probably is training material. Part of that Rosetta Stone for uncovering what is a real UAP and what is not. And if there's a little public deceit in the process, so be it. They've done it for 70 plus years. Why not continue the trend? They're not coming clean. Hate to tell you, people hate me for saying that. There's going to be no disclosure. How do I know? They've shut it down from top to bottom, classifying everything and won't release it. Now, I'm still trying through legal channels, but the way to do it through the press office has all been shot down. And the time it takes to get answers and so on and so forth, it's just not productive for any of us to continue that way. So yeah, the FOIA, as much as some people say, wow, the FOIA is never going to give you anything, FOIA has given you the best UFO official documentation that's ever been produced. Sure, there's been some leaked stuff, but you know what? Maybe there's more to this story than meets the eye. And that goes back to Susan Goff's quote, including those incursions initially designated as UAP. Again, those cases that may have been UAP from day one, but day 20, maybe it was a Batman balloon.
Yeah, she's a
disinformation queen. So is there that aura of we have no idea what these objects are when deep down, yes, they do know? Put it out there into the ether and let the public dissect it and go, wow, this is fantastic. And then you realize within hours, like it was only like an hour when people were putting around that Batman balloon, that it was solvable. That in itself muddies the water and confuses the heck out of everything, including other countries, including our competitors, so to speak, our rivals. And it may show them the intelligence in just the way that the United States intended. Make the United States seem inept, dumb, and can't figure it out. And Putin might go, they can't figure out a Batman balloon. Okay, well, let's not focus on our efforts as hard or put as much money because these guys are pretty, worthless. That, from an intelligence standpoint, has value. Deceive the American public to a point, because again, done it for 70 plus years. It also has intelligence value on a global scale. And that is the true, or part of the true definition to counterintelligence as a whole anyway. Prevent espionage, sabotage, assassinations, or other intelligence activities conducted for or on behalf of foreign powers, organizations, or persons. In essence, confuse the heck out of everything and prevent really bad stuff from happening. And what's really weird is the guy that was chosen for that alleged UFO study within the Pentagon was a counterintelligence officer. Why would you do that? Project Blue Book had, yes, military brass at the top, but they knew that they weren't capable or qualified to look at all of those UFO cases themselves. So what then do? They brought in J. Allen Hynek, the scientific advisor, because he was qualified. So why do this with a counterintelligence officer? Unless you have a different effort. So would you put that balloon out there just to paint a different story? one of deceit, continuing the trend that you have done for so long, but in a slightly different 21st century, 2020 crazy way. Let the public believe you're stupid. Let the world think you're inept. Let worldwide intelligence agencies scratch their head just a little bit. But in a classified setting, those lawmakers, all the way up to the president of the United States, excuse me, if he's going in there to learn more about UAPs, they sit down and go, this is the effort. It's a muddy the water, murky everything up to the point where you, as the general public, get so frustrated and you get so tired of it, you just say, forget it. I don't even care anymore. I'm tired of it. Batman balloons are getting headlines on Fox News right now. That, if the theory, just a theory before everybody just writes me and goes, John's crazy. If that theory has any weight whatsoever, then you guys getting frustrated, me getting frustrated is exactly the point. You put your head in your hand and just say, forget it. I'm so tired of this. I'm going to go bake a cake because I'm sick and tired of the UFO stuff that just keeps going out there and gaining worldwide attention because people aren't asking the right questions or enough questions. And if this is some kind of CI effort, counterintelligence effort, that they are trying to deceive the public for the greater good, history shows us they will absolutely do it. 100%. And even though we have our jokes about the government essentially not being, I don't know, smart, that you love to have all of us have those jokes about the government being inept. They're really not. And generally, when you think certain things are true, if the last 25 years have taught me anything, it's that if you think something is true, generally it's not. And the crazier the theory is, then it generally has a little bit of truth to it. And that's what government secrecy research does. That is why the FOIA is important, is to shine the light on the crazy stuff that has happened in the past. Because even though this sounds crazy now in 2020, that why would the government deceive the public? Why would they act clueless? Why would they do this? Why would they let certain things leak out? Well, that DD Form 1910 wasn't, in my opinion, supposed to be out in the open. Yes, it eventually leaked. I don't think it was supposed to. And when I went after it via FOIA and uncovered the name of who did it, which we all knew, I'm not sure when it leaked, they blacked it out. But regardless, you start looking at the inside information, not the stuff they want you to see, but the stuff they don't want you to see. It starts to paint a very different picture. And that's why all of this is important.
Well, Luis Elizondo and his group are amplified, and they are part of this giant psychological operation that has been going on for many, many years, that is from the elite powers in control, the global powers, that always need some kind of a front group to try to take back control of ufology and the paranormal. And that's what they're doing. So Elizondo is going to be amplified by mainstream media and by all of their minions. And that's just going to keep on going. It looks like it's falling apart now because the group has been discredited so badly by this main picture that they used in their initial conference in October, when they were doing that PSYOP conference to an empty auditorium with no one there, and they were at a microphone pretending there were people in the audience, and they all came forward. The To the Stars Academy group, yeah. And now it's been discovered that one of the pictures that they used at that conference, that initial conference, is nothing more than a Mylar silver balloon that they were saying was a cigar-shaped UFO that was proven. And this is an operation that it's breathtaking in the chutzpah that they are putting forward. CIA guys from the Department of Defense, guys from the Secretary of Defense's office, people, high officials from the CIA. They are putting forward people who have spent their entire lives not helping the public, the American public, to get information or disclosure or be advised about anything. from organizations that are based on deception. And that is the main job that they do. And yet there they are at To the Stars Academy, pretending that they're working to disclose something to the American people. I would say they are one instrument among many, many instruments that are used by the global cabal to take back control of the entire ufology phenomenon. And that's what they're doing right now. I would say that Elizondo probably believes very sincerely in what he does. So that's why you can't say that he's a confidence man. Very much like Tom DeLonge also sincerely believes in this area in ufology. He believes all this stuff is true, and he is sincere. Elizondo probably is too. He probably believes in ufology and in the truth of ufology and in bringing all this stuff through. However, even if they're not confidence men, they can be used very easily and very much with their skill set and with what they have done. And they can be used by the global cabal, sure, to put forward what the global cabal wants to accomplish in taking back control of ufology.
Okay.
Interesting.
Let me pull that out of there. Yeah, this is just a theory. We at the UFO Man channel do not necessarily subscribe to these viewpoints, but we need to put that information out there because you need to know both sides of the story, not just one side where we all believe and wish that we're going to have this big revelation on June 1st. Now, according to Mauricio, there's some stuff coming out on June 1st. Mauricio, you want to tell us about that?
Yes, let me tell you. First of all, remember my words: the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, let's go with the good. The good thing is the Department of Defense does want to gain the public the trust again. And they're going to let us see one video in particular that Luis Elizondo has been talking about, and he knows it's coming out. He said, I'm going to talk about it when the right time comes, and it's coming. It's a video that Luis Elizondo knows, and it's about an object that is almost in similarity to the same from the Puerto Rico, UAP, UFO that they spotted. It does some things that either splits itself and then it morphs into one, and it's traveling at a high rate of speed. In other words, it's got, from the 5 observables that Luis Elizondo says, maybe 6, it's got at least 4 of them on the video, 4 observables, which means this thing is not meant, it was manufactured locally here on planet Earth. Nobody could have access to that and still show it off before the cameras of the government and get away with it. So in other words, they know these are cosmic visitors at their best. Okay, one video is coming out and a whole bunch of crystal clear images of other objects. Now, some may consider them minor balloons. Some might consider them, well, they just don't make sense. It's something out there on the sky. It doesn't have a shape. Well, a lot of UAPs, UFOs don't have a shape. When they're in motion, in travel, and when they're at high speeds, they will distort themselves in such a way through the naked eye, you can't really, or even a camera cannot get them as accurate when they're stationary. Remember my video? It was stationary. It was meant to be filmed with details. My camera captured every detail, okay? But when they're in flight, when they're moving, you can't get enough crystal clear data on it. However, yes, they have a good video coming out. Now, this is the latest. They might have 2 videos, but they're going to have one, and then they're going to ask for an extension to bring some more information that they still analyzing. They say it's too fast. What they're asking, Senator Marco Rubio is asking for fast information, and they just scrambling to get anything. Now, these leaks that you have seen, that a triangular shape, UFOs out there, they've been coming out. They're actually, some are considered as training. The Department of Defense has triangular shape drones that they train with and shoot them down, and they try to, you know, pretend something's going up in the air. Some of them could be a grab from the training session. During a training session, somebody grab a footage of it. They might come out and say, well, this was in relation to a training we had going on. It shouldn't have leaked. We're going to get it back, and here's the real UAP video. See, right now they're trying to settle the dust, settle the matter with little things. Here, just take this and leave us alone. But when those two videos, one video will come out, hopefully two, and believe me, those are the crystal clear videos. Those are the ones that we should have waited and not start this little dust storm coming out, because it's gonna muddy the water. That's why we should be patient, to be honest. Let's just be patient and get there.
Right. There are questions out there about the flying pyramids. I've questioned it because I thought they were kind of close to some of the TR3B platforms that we've had. And then I've heard from Thomas down below me here saying, nope, they're flying pyramids. So there are many views within the UFO community as to what they were.
Oh, I've got some pictures from Russia tonight that'll blow your mind.
Oh, we'll look at them next live stream, Thomas. It sounds really great.
No.
I do have something on the flying pyramids of the video that's just recently released by Jeremy Corbell.
Yeah.
Corbell, I'm sorry. Imagine this. Imagine you are China or Russia, all right? And you've got this super technology that's so far ahead of the United States, let's say, that it's almost pathetic at this point, right? Now,
Yes.
do you think that you would take that technology and take a chance on buzzing United States aircraft with it or ships with it, and actually so they can actually try to detect it, get photos of it and all of that? Or would you keep that completely under wraps until you absolutely need to use it?
Under wraps.
Under wraps.
Yep.
I think so too. I don't believe that we're seeing something from another superpower, from China, let's say. No. I don't think that's what we're seeing here, because they wouldn't let us see that. Why would they?
They got better footage than that. I'll be honest. This was the worst of the worst footage they could give us, that anybody could make it up. I mean, it's up for grabs. You could make up whatever you want out of it, because anybody could have one of those and somebody came out and actually duplicated the same scenario with autofocus. And but see, this is what they call
that was Nick West.
Right. There you go. But the real footage, to be honest, could be real UAPs.
Yeah.
Not well defined. And I gotta give them credit for that. But
the problem is the video that we're seeing and the pictures that we're seeing, Mauricio, are not from the onboard systems where they have their high resolution and all the cameras and all the radar and all the stuff to pick up and infrared and everything. These are from sailors who were using an iPhone 8 again, because it was back in 2019.
That explains it.
Yeah. So it's Susan Goff at the DOD who has access to this information. She's damn quick to go ahead and say, yes, it happened, it's real, because it's meeting their narrative. Not that they're throwing disinformation out. They're saying that, hey, look, all these ships, all these flying pyramids are swarming our destroyer. But they're using the word swarming. And generally, I've dealt with wasp nests when I was a kid. And the only way you get wasps to swarm you is if you poke it or beat it with a broomstick. So my question is, what the heck was the Navy doing to cause it to be swarmed?
Wow. A lot of questions.
Maybe some answers to come.
We just have to be honest and let the government believe, at least trick them into believing that we're going to take whatever they throw at us. I'd rather have one video, just one video, out of 300 that they should have given us. Just give us one video. And I guarantee you, that's the string that we could use to start pulling the rest of the string. It only takes one video for us to start pulling some more and more. But give us something crystal clear that the people will say, okay, that's good enough. We got it. Mr. Ruiz, step aside. We got a better video than yours. It comes from the Department of Defense with better equipment. You had a little high-aid video cam, magnetic, and you got a good capture. Well, this guy's got high-tech equipment 20 years later, and definitely they're going to have a better. So that's what I'm expecting, a footage much better than mine with top-grade technology. And I hope, believe it or not, that remember the phones? We got the iPhone 1 all the way to the iPhone 20, let's say. These guys have iPhone 45, enough equipment to capture much better details, to be honest, with all those billions of dollars invested.
I have to say that I believe that they have to come out with some type of incredible footage or documentation that isn't redacted to justify their narrative. Because if they don't, then the public will lose faith in the rhetoric and it won't go forward. It'll just die.
You don't spend millions of dollars investigating something that doesn't exist. You don't do it.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's it.
And we know they've done that. So Harry Reid has admitted that he signed the deal to create that organization that examined UFOs for years and years. And, again, at the tune of tens of millions of dollars, and you just don't throw that around for nothing.
Right.
Absolutely. Very right. Even the Robert Bigelow himself, he said they stopped me short from come with a lot of revelation. Robert Bigelow had a lot of good stuff hanging in there, and guess what? He became disappointed because they started taking money away from the investigation, and he said he just had to drop it. And it's a mystery how much information and images Robert Bigelow is holding. To be honest, he needs to cough it up because his time on this planet is not going to be for long. So if he don't cough up everything he knows, he just wasted taxpayers' money for nothing, just to take it to the grave. Mr. Bigelow, if you're listening, let it go.
And to further damage the credibility of the U.S. government, which isn't exactly the best anyway. So,
correct. Let it go.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to move on to our next segment featuring Thomas Fessler.
Hey.
So, Thomas, take it away.
Awesome. Well, good afternoon, guys. Not good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. Let's have some fun. Let's take a look at what's gone on the last week in Twitter. There's been a lot of things happening, but I'm going to kind of go from some more recent stuff today, especially one that just hit as his broadcast was starting. But the first thing let's get in here and talk about was, I'm sure everyone's heard about the big phone home. There was an event going on today where they're encouraging everybody to go ahead and call your representatives in the Senate, in Congress, your local state representatives. Get them to get Washington to talk more, declassify more, bring more information out. If you have a chance, go ahead and look into it. This is the first time we're doing it this year. It sounds like we're going to start doing this every year. This was something that was headed up by James Fox from the Phenomenon movie, as well as Lou Elizondo, Jeremy Corbell, and a lot of people have been really active in this. So they had an 8-hour live stream on it today with an unbelievable amount of personalities from the ufology area. So from people who are just on live streams to Jeremy Corbell, like I mentioned, and a whole bunch of other people. And it was just an amazing event that kind of took place today. Now, this next piece blew my mind when I saw it. Let me bring it up. There we go. The documents stolen by Snowden claim that extraterrestrials dominate the United States. We've always thought that Snowden got his hands on something. So rather than just go, so I'm just going to cover this really quick. Let me get into this. Apparently, there is irrefutable evidence of an alien/extraterrestrial intelligence agenda that directs U.S. domestic and international policy and has been doing so since at least 1945. Let's see now. Likewise, the controversial computer specialist and former CIA agent Edward Snowden was the one who leaked the revealing files. So apparently, there's 2 million documents out there that I'm going to go dig up and find. And this is like breaking news, like just now. You can see it just came out today. So it's well, actually 2 days ago, but still, check it out. It's a great story. Definitely worth talking about. Let me move on. Just to cover one thing really small, I'm sure you guys heard SpaceX wins a $2.9 billion contract to fly astronauts back and forth with to the moon with their Spaceship One. We know that Elon Musk is not the person to talk to about whether or not there's aliens or anything, but it's great that we're moving forward on our strategy for the moon, and we're going with someone like Elon Musk, who's really been moving forward, versus taking and going along with a big stumbling corporation like in my back hometown here in Everett, Washington, Boeing. Talking about the Batman balloon, we were just a second ago, just kind of showing this. Here's the Batman balloon. Here is the Batman balloon close-up, and here's the leaked UFO close-up. It's just really close. So I know there's a big debate whether it was a balloon or not a balloon, but just from a visual standpoint, it's really, really close.
I'm going to have to go balloon on that. I think it is. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah. I saw that today, and I saw that was one of the things, and it's like, you know what? Got to share it. Let's move on. Here we go. This is Mick West, and you guys out there, he's one of the big debunkers trying to say none of this stuff was real. He said taken by Navy personnel, not faked or digitally altered, but not literally flying triangles. And what I'm saying, and he's got a quote here from Susan Goff, where she's saying, that's it, nothing more. However, what I had to come back to this and say was one has to be cautious, taking the words of Susan Goff with 100% certainty. Under her direction, the DOD is unwilling to release the facts, images, and data recorded by the vast surveillance equipments on the ship. It's kind of a, it's one of those things. Take it with a grain of salt. Listen to and take in what they're trying to share, but just don't eat it up like it's a plate of spaghetti and you want to get more and more and more. Take it with a grain of salt. Let's move on. UFO intelligence studies said you have to wonder what happens behind the scenes and how things happen. We always know the tip of the iceberg. And this is where we're talking about Lou Elizondo was in an airport or a nation's capital heading back home on April 18th. Major progress underway. Keep pushing UFO Twitter. Don't stop. You are making a difference in a big way. So the movement we were just talking about for the big phone home is making a big difference, and Elizondo is confirming it. We'll have to come back to this one because I don't have my, okay, we'll come back to this one in a bit. Pull it off to the side. All right. Here we're talking about, there's a lot of talk saying that some of the different crafts that we're seeing from the destroyers off the coast of California could have been hypersonic drones. The thing is, hypersonic drones are fast, but don't mistake them for a UAP. They share the flight dynamics of a man-made craft and don't come close to how a UAP can fly.
They move in a straight line.
Yeah, move in a straight line and change trajectories and keep on doing whatever they want, whereas hypersonic drones, they can't do anything. They're just like a conventional aircraft, but they can do things more than a plane can because there's no humans on board. Let's move on.
They're still bound by terrestrial physics. Therefore, they can basically only move in a straight line at certain speeds. I mean, that's exactly why we have our fighter planes are the same way, but something that fast, that the effect is even more pronounced on it.
Right.
Although I read in a report recently that they can maneuver in space any direction at any given time during flight. So if they can maneuver in space, hypersonic drones, they can also maneuver in our atmosphere. It might be a little more restrictive in our atmosphere because of drag, but they still can maneuver better than an actual conventional aircraft.
But they're still not jumping around like the
right. They're not jumping around or moving like a leaf. Exactly.
And they do create a sonic boom when they take off, at least as far as we know.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's the difference.
Moving on, we have here just another communication coming from the Department of Defense talking about UAPs with all the names and everything redacted and stuff. This is where I'm getting into it, just to kind of show the kind of disinformation and coordinated disinformation and restricting information out about UAPs. Let me read just one little segment here. Also, generally speaking, we let the normal FOIA process work as it's supposed to, but we have been requesting that FOIA offices coordinate with us on UAP-focused FOIA responses before they hit reply, so that new terms, language, etc., aren't introduced that complicate the overall messaging efforts. So they're clearly trying to control the narrative, all down from one person. Hi, Susan.
Right. Read the next paragraph, because that's exactly what they're doing.
Additionally, there is now a security classification guidance document at the secret level that addresses the UAP issue and what may or may not be discussed publicly. And this is coming from Joel Gradishier, captain of the U.S. Navy, strategic engagements.
Right. So they're coming up with new security measures to lock down and suppress information.
Yep. They're locking it down even more.
Right.
Let's move on. Okay. I need to go ahead and give me 1 sec. I've got this going here. I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is a video, a quick thing talking about an experience. This is coming from UFO Believers. He's like, I don't like being filmed at all, but okay, I do this for you people to tell you what I experienced during a wave in Alkmaar, Holland in 1995, 1997. First one was with my mother in 94. I still have to interview her, but due to COVID, that has been postponed. So let me go ahead and change my audio here. 1 second so we can all hear this. 1 second, sorry. Audio, let's go to loopback audio. All right, you guys should be able to hear this fine. All right, let me play this.
Can't hear it.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, can hear it. Go ahead.
I want to tell you about my second UFO experience on this location. It was 1995, and I cycled, brought my friend to the bus station, and I cycled back home here. As I looked up, instinctively, I saw this enormous pitch black round disc fly over my head. It was very low. No sound, no trail, nothing. Those flats there weren't there. It was built later. But the moon was exactly there. And I saw it pass in front of the moon. And I stopped and I was like, wow, I'm looking at an alien spaceship right now. And I couldn't care where I was cycling, really. So yeah, it changed my life. It changed my life profoundly. And the last experience I had was in 97, when an enormous black triangle came from behind the clouds. And we were in the park because there were meteorites falling, the Perseids. It was the 14th of August, 1997, and I was with two friends. And this big triangle, isosceles, so it looked like a pizza slice, in fact. It had two lights in the front of the point and two lights in the back, white lights. But it was so enormous, that I said to my friend, I said, look, yes. And we didn't even describe what we saw. And when we came home, I said, okay, you draw what you saw, I draw what I saw. And we made exactly the same drawing. I saw it. It was there. I was not alone. In the my last experience was not alone, with my friend, and I asked him to corroborate my story with an autograph. He did that, and it is now MUFON case 95190. That's my story.
And I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, great story, huh?
Yes. Great story.
Awesome. Let's see now. In the beginning, there was a powerful dude with double-ended tuning forks. This is a new story that's out there. Still recommended to read from Ancient Origins. The Origins of Human Beings according to the Ancient Sumerian texts from ancientorigins.net. It's a great story that's talking about re-explaining the Sumerian origin story for the human race. Definitely worth checking out, everybody. Here's another one. OCCAM 1129 reported on that the Society of Catholic Scientists prepares for a conference on non-human intelligence, high-level scientific speakers. It should be interesting on the 4th to 6th of June. So after the UAPTF report comes out, apparently. So, but here's the thing. Now we've got the Catholic Church going and jumping on it, but kind of interesting. But you two ET UFO disclosure kind of said Catholic scientists. There's kind of an oxymoron there. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt. Now, I think Tommy had a story where he was talking about a bunch of ancient things we've had that have kind of shown aliens depicted in cave art and different things.
You got to bring it up higher.
This particular piece is a statue in Japan that doesn't look human, looks like something wearing a spacesuit. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
It's definitely not something that's normal. I mean, you would think the dress period of the time, they weren't wearing stuff like that. Maybe that's armor. Maybe that's what they're trying to depict there, but funny looking head on it.
Yeah, definitely.
Awful big eyes.
Yeah, just something completely, almost like bird-like kind of. Let's move on. There is, from the brief cover, there's a new warp drive model that requires no exotic matter. And a team of Swedish researchers say we can build it. So we've got warp technology where, you know, things are moving on day by day, but as 2021 moves on, man, there is just so much more technology. There is so much more on ufology and everything coming through. It's just an amazing year to be alive. Tim has talked before about starseeds. Starseeds are like people who have like celestial bodies, potentially partially alien. And Dr. Vivian Lee retreated from the intergalactic light source, just kind of what, you know, starseeds are, just to cover it really quick. They can think beyond time. They have a strong empathy, a deep inner wisdom. They feel out of place on this planet, possess strong intuitive powers, near-death and out-of-body experiences, feeling of isolations and loneliness, helpful, kind, and generous. That last one reminds me of Jules. Different stages of starseed awakenings that a lot of us may be going through. Sudden divine experiences, yep. Change in attitude and beliefs, yep. Develop spiritual understandings, oh yeah. Growth of inner love and beauty, maybe. Spiritual healing, yeah, and a higher self-union. So this is just something that kind of ties into the whole consciousness portion of aliens and UFOs. And it's not something we really usually cover here on UFO Man, but I thought it was something that kind of really ties into the whole phenomenon that we all kind of love and go through. Now this one is really great. This is a filing that Linda Thompson, she's a great researcher on YouTube. She went and basically found the documents for the filing with the TTSA, with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Can I bring that up and make it smaller? Yeah, it's too small. Anyway, it's a great document. It really explains what's going on with the TTSA, why they shut down all their scientific stuff and basically dumped it for Hollywood. So using some, you know, different stuff to justify it and everything. But it's really a great doc to go ahead and take a look at. Yeah, Linda is absolutely great. Julie, I love her as well. And best wishes for her and her health. She's got a troubled time coming ahead. There's a new study going on at Stanford University, not made on this earth, an atomic structure of UFO debris analysis. So Dr. Gary Nolan at Stanford University has been going and breaking down the atomic structure of UFO debris. So even our top universities are getting their hands on the materials and they're trying to break it down, which is an amazing fact in its own. You see something, Tommy?
No.
Okay, cool. Here we go. Question from Jerry McGowan. Why would a person or an agency leak classified information to a filmmaker instead of a journalist or a privacy-protecting organization such as WikiLeaks? What's the benefit to the leaker in doing so? Is it compensated money, or is it ignorance, or is it setup? Well, Ted Rowe from NARCAP, who was here a couple weeks ago in one of our best interviews, great reply. It's a trap. So again, you have to take everything that they're putting out with a grain of salt. Deep Praised saw Ryan Ha point out and was thinking the same thing. You know who wrote about it and even made statues of flying pyramid UFOs over 4,500 years ago? The Hindus. That looks
like a Vimana.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. So, you know, made from a solid piece of stone, it's an amazing carving. You know, I think we'd have a hard time recreating that today.
Yeah.
Let's move on. All right. Here's what I have to say. When TMZ covers UFOs, you know they're real. because TMC went and tweeted and said Pentagon confirms Navy pilot UFOs and that is real. But ET UFO disclosure, love his comment. TMZ, tactical misdirection zone. Again, it's being serious, not being serious, but, you know, looking at all the information. Now, here we go. The Russians let people very close to some of these launches. Some users and our members, and it's basically, we've got a video going here of a rocket launch. Let's check it out. I mean, people are right there watching this thing, getting ready to take off. Let's check it out. I wish we could get this close to the launches. Can we get pretty close to stuff for SpaceX?
Yeah. Not this close.
Yeah.
What type of rocket is this?
A beautiful sight and sound, to say the least. I agree.
What type of rocket is that?
It's a Soyuz.
And it's going where?
Probably the International Space Station.
Okay.
Either that or a satellite, but I have an idea that pretty much they've only been putting stuff up. Yep.
Before you move on, I heard that Russia is talking about pulling out of the ISS because the ISS is starting to fall apart after the number of years it's been up there, and they feel it's dangerous to send their cosmonauts to the ISS. The reason why they want to pull them out is because they want to actually build their own space station now.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, and they're also teaming up with the Chinese on this, Tim. So we'll have to see how their involvement with the Chinese are going to be, if they're going to put up a space station, or if they are just going to focus on going to the moon, which they've already announced an effort. I believe it was last week, where they're teaming up.
Okay. Thomas, what else you got?
All right, let me get past here. Here's a good question I brought up. UFOs have been sighted in the vicinity of nuclear power plants and oil rigs and even volcanoes, but are never sighted near solar power arrays or wind farms. Why the lack of interest of ETs in renewables?
I actually have a recording of a disc flying alongside windmills.
Wow.
And I also have another. It's a new one, and I actually have an older one of a windmill getting damaged by a spherical UFO that hit one of the blades.
Well, you proved me wrong, Tim. You got to bring those out again.
Well,
yeah, well,
I would say one of the reasons is that you're talking about an energy level, a completely different sport. I mean, a windmill or anything like that, it's a very low powered thing compared to a nuclear reactor. That's probably why.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's move on. The Independent UK, Pope Francis said he would baptize aliens who are weak to close doors to anyone, even Martians. Clearly, Francis does not get the big picture. At least he's talking about it, though.
Good thing we're not on my channel right now.
Oh, yeah. All right. Russian UFO investigations, part 1. There's been a lot of stuff about the Russians this week going on. This is a great video on YouTube. I'm not going to show it now because it goes on for a while, but this is going back to April 1996, and there's videos out there to go ahead and check out because Russia has been a buzz on Twitter this week. Get past this one. The KGB put a huge amount of money into the UFO ET subject. I would recommend that you all get some books by Paul Stonehill. He was deep into Russia for 40 years and has the facts, evidence, and data about UFOs in the KGB. Skinny Bob is a KGB file too. Real deals, but staring at the U.S. Now, I also met with a Michael Hesseman in Germany back in about 2004, 2005. And he's a ufologist. And right after the wall fell and he was able to get in there, actually after the wall fell and Russia fell apart, the first thing he did was go across the border to go and start interviewing pilots about the stuff. So yeah, UFO is a global phenomenon. and Russia's had a lot of stuff going on with it as well.
Yeah, Michael Hessman is an author as well, and he has a really good book out that you would almost consider a UFO Bible.
Yes.
So you need to grab one of it. Go to Amazon and check out Michael Hessman.
Yeah.
He's a German author. Very good information pertaining to UAPs and UFOs. Please check him out.
I was introduced to him by Colonel John Alexander back in 2004, 2005, I believe. And when I was going to Germany, he said, you need to meet with Michael. He's got amazing stories that you need to hear. And they definitely were. And check out his books, folks. Absolutely.
Yes.
Just to cover this, Vice is also covering that the Canadian military documents of UFO sightings and intelligence reports. So Canadians do see UFOs. There's great news going about.
Can't hear you, Thomas.
You can't hear me anymore?
Oh, no, I hear you now. Sorry.
Okay, sorry about that. An unclassified intelligence report links the Royal Canadian Air Force, NORAD, Transport Canada, and air traffic controllers in his official confirmation of a Canadian UFO alert system. How about that?
Yeah.
Let's move on. All right. This is one thing that I was asked in the chat that they wanted to see. Wow. Soviets had the same inept Snoopy guys shooting bokeh in the 1970s. Bokeh refers to the triangles that they're saying that they were fake because someone went and taped, what do you call electrical tape over the end of the sensor when they were going and looking at stuff. At this time, Colonel Boris Solikov was in charge of the Ministry of Defense study for 10 years. He said there were 40 incidents where Russian airplanes chased UFOs, resulting in 3 of those planes. So look familiar? There's your pyramid-shaped UFO from a long time ago in Russia. Hopefully that helps convince people that, yeah, those pyramid UFOs were indeed real, because this one you can even see they have multiple sides that are illuminated, which is just phenomenal.
Although it still looks like a TR-3B, and we've had them operational.
Yeah, but if you look where the mouse is, you see you've got a lighting on this particular side going here. You've got lighting going on this side over here. And you've got lighting on the bottom, so I couldn't call that a TR-3B because a TR-3B is like a wedge triangle, and this is clearly not a wedge.
No, the TR-3B is an equilateral triangle, whereas this one does look like a pyramid. But what I'm saying to you is that it also looks like a TR-3B in shape.
Yeah, the overall triangle shape, yeah, but we've got a pyramid going on here, which is really cool.
Yes.
Let me skip between that. Oh, Winston Churchill ordered a cover-up of a UFO sighting during World War II. And this is one of the things I'll be covering in a second, where UFOs are a war secret. Churchill feared mass panic if air encounter revealed. So this may be one of the reasons why UK has clamped down on anything with UFOs, going back a long time. Move past this one, go quick. Why is this not a bigger story for the general public? The government confirmed aliens are real, covering the Guardian story that was covered everywhere. The Pentagon confirms leaked UFOs and videos of UFOs are indeed legitimate. Let's go past this one here. Oh, here's a good question. I asked Twitter. I had 31 votes on this, and I said, in my abduction, to calm me down on the table, one of the ETs got in my head and showing me my house from 100 feet, telling me that I would be home soon. The house looked illuminated, similar to an IR image without shadows. What caused this visual effect? Is it an artifact of the warp field? Or is it gray ETs can also see IR, because I was basically seeing through the eyes of the ET? It's a close call. We have 41.9% saying it's an artifact of a warp field, or gray ETs see IR is at 58%, almost a 50-50 split. So it's interesting to see, where Twitter is coming, ruling on this. One thing that I've learned from the Napgate, the Napgate Corbell affair, when requesting an official response from the DoD on UAPs, there is a direct correlation between the veracity of your query and the response time from Susan Koff, meaning that when this was hitting and Mick West was debating it, and everything was up in the air. Some emails were sent off to Susan, which she replied back to almost instantly. What did I have to say? Good question. Perhaps the speed of the response is directly related to the exposure gain from replying to certain individuals. Goff has an agenda that's been set by her handlers. Who are they and what is it? It's of a very high level of interest to me. Let's see, move on from here. About, there was a lot of talk about the triangles that were going out and taking a look at it, and Elizondo came out and said they were real. Susan Goff came out and said that they were real. They weren't making up the words of calling them flying pyramids or triangles. It was the sailors and the DOD that confirmed, yes, they are flying pyramids. Now, interesting point is 40 Iridani went and looked at this and said there's a pattern to the flashes, but they have not matched any known aircraft manufacturers yet. Just a quick assessment of showing the different flashes we had over a period of time, their brightness on how often they happened, that if they're trying to say, yes, these weren't UFOs and they were drones, well, even if the things were flashing, it's a completely unknown craft.
Right.
Yeah. Now there's another video that's out there. Back to Russia again. You should really look at this. Pretty clear that the Russian government, that this was a Russian government sanction. This is a Russian documentary about USOs available on YouTube. Worth watching. You have to read the subtitles.
Yeah, because it's in Russian.
It's in Russian, but the information is amazing and highly compelling.
It's also about ghost submarines.
Yes, but the submarines were moved. They were calling them ghost submarines, but they moved in a manner underwater that matched UAPs that we have now, where they had direct trajectory changes. They moved faster than anything we have. They went up higher. If you want to call it, went towards the surface faster, dove faster. So they're ghosts, but they don't match any profile of any known submersible out there.
But they were referred to as ghost submarines in that video clip, and they were moving at 300 to 400 knots per hour underwater.
Yes. Regarding information that comes out there, whether people say it's real or not, this is Simeon Hain. He visited us a long time ago, probably about 6 months ago on a live stream. And this is where Simeon was talking about where they paid a farmer, put up the signs, and it was a man-made and math science project with our website. So basically they went out and they created a crop circle. But it looked so good that nobody believed us. They said it had to be made by aliens. Then I'm your alien. Look what someone wrote on the sign. Liar. So it just goes to show you, even if something is fake and the people who did it come out and acknowledge it, there's still people who just want to believe.
Right. Thomas, we have to move on.
Yeah, I'm almost there.
Okay.
Let's see. Hi, Susan. Perhaps. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Great information of stuff on Twitter and everything like that. I had a small piece of time to go ahead and talk to everybody. Hopefully the next 30 minutes with Tommy will amaze you in the stories he's got to bring in.
Right.
Back to you, Tim.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. Very interesting segment. Appreciate it. Tommy, let's do your segment.
Fantastic. Well, folks, as we all know, airliners and aircraft have been harassed by UFOs for decades. I mean, the very first UFO sighting that's actually on record happened from a pilot who happened to see some UFOs skipping in what he called skipping discs in the air, that sort of thing. We also have stories from places like Vietnam where we had terms like enemy helicopters. Enemy helicopters was a term used by the United States military during the Vietnam conflict to describe UFOs. And the reason that you know that is because the Viet Cong did not have helicopters. Okay. So we know that this has been happening, but I'm going to go ahead and regale you folks with a tale. This is kind of an older story, but it just happens to be the most significant UFO sighting in Australian history. Okay. It's a tale of a gentleman called Frederick Valentich. Okay. And Frederick Valentish is actually a 20-year-old Australian pilot, a private pilot. He was actually, the story goes, he was trying to get into the military, had some difficulties with getting, I guess, his pilot's license, things of that nature. Anyway, so basically one evening, he did have a private pilot's license. So he decided to go ahead and file a flight plan. He was going to go from the Moorabbin airport near Australia and take a night flight to King Island, where he was to pick up some of his friends, and then they were all going to fly back together. And King Island happens to be in the strait, with the Bass Strait, right in between Australia and Tasmania. Okay, on October 21st of 1978 at 18:19 hours, Frederick Valentish took off in a single-engine Cessna 182 from Moorabbin Airport, Melbourne, Australia. Thomas, can I ask you to mute for a moment? If you could, I'd appreciate that. As he was flying along the Bass Strait at about 5,000 feet altitude, he told air traffic controllers on the radio in Melbourne that he could see a large aircraft below him and wanted to know if they were aware of any aircraft in the area. Melbourne ATC said they had no known traffic in the area and asked if he could identify it. Okay, we're getting a lot of feedback here.
Yeah, it's coming from Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas, can you go ahead and mute us out?
I had my mic gain turned down to 0. Sorry about that. Apparently, if I had it on 0, it always muted it before. So I'll mute. Don't worry. There you go.
Thank you. Anyway, where was I? Okay, the Melbourne ATC air traffic control said there were no known aircraft in the area and asked if he could briefly identify it. Frederick said he could only identify it, but it had four bright lights. The UFO then passed over him and appeared to be playing some sort of game with him. In other words, it was playing games with the plane. It was bouncing all around him, up or down, it was doing barrel rolls around the craft, things of that nature. Okay, the object was orbiting him and then just vanished. The UFO then reappeared, approaching from the southwest. Frederick reported to ATC that his engine was roughly idling and coughing. Melbourne ATC, again, air traffic control, asked what his intentions were, and he replied, "My intentions are," and I quote, "to go to King Island, Melbourne. That strange aircraft is hovering on top of me again." And the open microphone was for 2 seconds, so they didn't hear anything for a few seconds. And then he said, "It's hovering, and it's not an aircraft." So he's reporting this craft harassing his little Cessna plane, okay? And it's all over him. And then it disappeared, then it came back, and now it's on top of him at this point, okay? The last transmission from Frederick Valentish was at 1912 hours. And an alert was immediately declared. When in 1933 hours, it was evident that the Cessna 182 had not arrived at King Island, a full-scale search and rescue operation was launched. After 5 days of searching with no sign of the pilot of the aircraft, was found despite the fact that the Cessna was equipped with a radio survival beacon. So basically, he had a transponder on board, which back in 1978 was probably a luxury item for a craft of this size, I would think. And they never could find him. Now, here's the thing. We actually, Tim, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we do have the actual audio of.
Yes, we do.
Great. If we could go ahead and play that, that would be fantastic.
Okay, here we go.
This is Delta Sierra Juliet. Is there any known traffic below 5,000 feet? No known traffic. Seems to be a large aircraft below 5,000 feet. What type of aircraft is it? I cannot confirm. It's 4 bright, seems to be like landing lights. The aircraft has just passed over me at least 1,000 feet above. Is there any Air Force aircraft in the vicinity? No known aircraft in the vicinity. Seems to be playing some sort of game. He's flying over me. Delta Sierra Juliet, it's not an aircraft. Can you describe the aircraft? As it's flying past, it's a long shape. Cannot identify it. It has such speed. It's before me right now, Melbourne. How large would the object be? Seems like it's stationary. What it's doing right now is orbiting. The thing is just orbiting on top of me. It's also got a green light and a sort of metallic, like it's shiny on the outside. It's just vanished. That strange aircraft's hovering on top of me again. It's hovering and it's not an aircraft.
Now think about that. That's actually where the transmission between
traffic.
Go ahead.
It's okay. That's actually where the transmissions between the pilot and air traffic control ended at that point. Okay. And did you hear that big screeching sound at the very end, like metal on metal? Okay, that was also something that's also been investigated. Now, this story has everything. It's one of those stories that I really love in ufology because it has, not only do we have a missing person, I mean, not that I'm rooting for that, we have a missing aircraft, okay? We also have communication between the pilot and air traffic control. All right, so this is like an ongoing thing. Next thing you know, poof, Mr. Valentine's plane disappears, never to be seen again. Now, I think it was many years later, if I'm not mistaken, an engine cowling, which is a part of like the hood, okay, of the engine, was actually washed up on an area near that, somewhere near the Australia in that strait, I guess. And the thing about it is, it didn't have the same numbers on it as the one off of Valentine's plane would have had. So in other words, the numbers didn't match. So what you could infer from this is that we've got a pilot that says that another aircraft is harassing him. It's something that he'd never seen before. And again, being a pilot, I'm sure, he's familiar with aircraft, right? So then all of a sudden we've got, it's on top of me. It's not an aircraft. We have a screeching noise and then poof, a missing person. Tim, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, he's been gone for several years. They've never proven what happened to him. I think it's one of the most interesting mysteries we have in ufology to this day. Yeah.
Outstanding.
Okay.
Well, we're at 8:51. You just want to go ahead and you want to put off Mr. Hopkins until next week? You want to go there?
Well, we can do Bud Hopkins. It's not that long.
Okay. Very good.
Are you sure? Give your intro on Bud Hopkins, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Very good. All right, folks. We have a video. We're going to talk about a gentleman by the name of Bud Hopkins. Bud Hopkins is a guy that has had his fingers in everywhere, all over ufology. I mean, we're talking sightings. We're talking about the mental aspects of it, the whole 9 yards. He was actually an artist, and he got into ufology after, what was it? Well, let's see. It was 1976. He began receiving letters from people about UFO experiences after he actually reported his own experience. And he got so into it that he's one of the people that, in fact, I think he might be the person credited with the theory that aliens are actually here to collect our DNA, or it's a genetic, whatever they're doing. Their intentions are genetic no matter what they're doing. And he actually came up with that theory, which was very interesting. His interest in UFOs and alien visitations was renewed when in August of 1964, Hopkins and 2 others reported experiencing a daytime sighting of an unidentified flying object in the form of a darkish elliptical object off of Cape Cod in Maine. Dissatisfied with the response Hopkins received when he reported the incident to nearby Otis Air Force National Guard Base, I'll bet, he suspected a possible government cover-up. Hopkins began reading about UFOs and collecting stories of people who claimed to have experienced contact with alien beings. He also joined a now defunct UFO research group called National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, or NICAP. In 1975, Hopkins was approached by George Obarski, who purportedly witnessed an alien figure step out of a spacecraft and take soil samples at North Hudson Park in North Bergen, New Jersey. Hopkins, Ted Belosher, the director of New York State's MUFON, and Harry Stoner, also a MUFON, investigated the incident, interviewing the witnesses and taking soil samples. Okay, so again, this guy, in many ways, was actually a pioneer to modern ufology. I mean, he actually created some of the investigative techniques and things that we use to this very day to be able to investigate sightings and things of that nature. Let's see here. Behavioral patterns exasperated from abductee letters led by Hopkins to identify core emotional responses based on their experiences. In other words, he got involved with abductees, and that became his shtick, if you will. And that's basically how he ended his career in ufology, was very focused on the abductee aspect of ufology. Tim, would you like to go ahead and run that video?
Sure, I sure will. Here, we'll put it on the stream.
What I'm going to do tonight is talk about some of the medical evidence from UFO abduction encounters. Now, the thing here about some of the cases I'm going to tell you about is that we have not really adequately investigated them. Some we have and some we haven't. One of the problems is that we need profound expertise, medical expertise, to help us with these experiences, to try to find out exactly what may lie behind them. I wish that we had more precise evidence to back these things up. But what I'm going to show you are situations where there's already a medical mystery behind the situations in which many of these people find themselves after abduction experiences. I also want to point out that medical issues of some sort, some of which are rather grave, as you will learn, these are thankfully very, very rare. Just as you occasionally hear about a healing that takes place during an abduction, you sometimes hear about these cases where there's some kind of medical problem that can be of a serious nature. But they're all, thank goodness, marginal. One of the things that's really interesting about this is that you will see some physical evidence, marks and so forth, and we'll go into some of these cases in depth. But as an example of the way people tend to dismiss this subject, a man once said to me, and I love the quote, he said, how can you go along with this sort of stuff? It's just a cult. You people are in a cult. And I said, well, it's very interesting that you bring that up, because it's the precise opposite of a cult. We have these physical marks, which you're going to see, which are repeated again and again and again in many, many hundreds of people. You're going to see scoop marks, cuts. You're going to find out issues about a disappearing ovary. You're going to find out many, many, many things which we do not know the purpose of. We have to explain. We don't know why these things are inflicted on people. We have some theories, but we don't really know. And I'm the first to say I don't know. But at any rate, we've got all of this physical evidence about which we have no clear, absolute idea of its purpose. And I said, the interesting thing to me is a cult, like, let's say, the Moonies, is a situation of all beliefs and no miracles. It's all an elaborate set of beliefs that you have to have about who the Mr. Mooney is himself, or whatever the term is, and what the theology is and so forth, but there are really no miracles. And we're in exactly the opposite situation. We have all these miracles, and we have no theory. We have no theology, so to speak, of why these things are done. We have some ideas, some speculations, but we really don't know. So if you're in a situation where you have to judge between all beliefs and no miracles, or all miracles and no beliefs, I'm interested in the latter case, because those are things that create genuine mysteries. Now, I want to start with the first slide. We can turn on the slides. I don't know whether I do it from here. Okay. It's a little hard for me to see with the light. All right. I'm going to deal first with something that many of you people are very familiar with, which are the so-called scoop marks. This doesn't happen to every abductee, or maybe even 1 in 20. We don't really know. But many people, when they're taken, find themselves afterwards with a little depression, often in the front of the leg. They can appear in many different places. I've even seen them on the face. They can be very small. They can be very large. But it's as if a layer of cells has just simply been scooped out. They do not remember bleeding. They do not remember any kind of pain for the most part. They just suddenly find themselves with this mark, and there it is. And they have no idea what caused it. Now, this first slide shows Kathy Davis. I reproduced it a long time ago when I first got into the idea that these events were happening, these scoop marks are being made. This is in my book, Intruders. This is very difficult for me to see from here. Oh, here we go. This is what it looks like up close. Now you can see the same thing on her leg. This is in the front of the shin. There's a little oval depression. And this is something she'd had on her leg for a long time. This is her mother's leg. She has one in exactly the same spot. And very often, for instance, in one case, 3 different young women were in an automobile which was stopped. There was an abduction, and all 3 young women had scoop marks on their right ankles immediately after the event. We're not sure why. This is her mother's scoop mark seen up close. This is one that you can see also in the same spot on the front of the lower leg. You don't see these very often. This isn't quite healed. But the point is there's no healing really that seems to be necessary, really extensively. The person is returned, it can be a baby, and the baby is returned. The mother takes the little Dr. Dentons off the baby, and there are these marks. And nobody knows why, but we can certainly know for sure that a layer of cells has been removed from that child. Now this mark which is perfectly circular, is on a little boy, 5 years old. And the interesting thing here is that his father had taken him to the doctor because he had a rash on his leg. And the doctor said, here's some salve and so on and so forth. Come back in 4 or 5 days and we'll look at it again. He came back 4 or 5 days later, and there was this scoop mark on the leg which the father had noticed that had occurred in the intervening 5 days, but it was totally healed. The doctor had no idea how it could have gotten there. He'd just seen it for the first time 5 days before. And this is a very rapid situation. This is a very small scoop mark at the front of the leg. We're going to go through this fairly quickly. Now, these particular marks are close-ups, and you can see what happens, that the oval quality of these things suggests a certain kind of tool, and many people remember a small, almost like an ice cream scoop or something that slips in, although many people can't quite see it, because if they're lying horizontally on a table when this is done to them, they can't really raise their head enough to see what's going on down there. But again and again, the same thing happens. Now, in these 2 pictures, the top one, which is a very large scoop mark, is on the right thigh, the outside of the thigh of a man. This occurred actually in Turkey. And he has one on the other leg in exactly the same spot, a symmetrical set. These are things which he noticed when he was a child, has no idea how they got there. His parents don't remember. There was no blood, there was no anything. The one at the bottom is very interesting because this is on the shin, really, excuse me, the front, the shin of the lower leg of Peter Curry. Now, I don't know whether you're familiar with the Peter Curry case. I was just in Australia, and it's an extremely important case. Peter Curry was an abductee. He's of Lebanese background, living in Australia. And in this case, which is now quite well known, he was awakened. He's been through a lot of other experiences. He was awakened, and there were 2 females in the room with him, one sitting on him, a very strange-looking woman with hair that didn't quite look human. And he was totally frightened, and she pulled him up towards her. He pushed her back as best he could. He found her incredibly strong. The other woman he thought was observing to see what this connection was going to be, perhaps sexual, we didn't know. Ultimately, when this thing ended, when he didn't remember what happened next, he woke up later and there was a hair, a long blonde hair, which was he found in a fairly embarrassing place in his body. The hair has been analyzed. There is a Nobelist in Australia who does work with genetics and studying the DNA of this hair, and it is extremely unusual. But at any rate, that mark on Peter's leg comes from a totally different experience. And there's one little detail about the experience when this apparently turned up that I find very touching, very real, very bizarre. He showed me in his house where at the foot of the bed there's about a 10-foot space, and then there are these long folding doors which have the closet which have mirrored surfaces. He remembered at one point waking up, being lifted off the bed. Small figures were coming towards him through the mirror. And he thought there are lots of them. until he realized he was looking at them from the front and seeing their reflections in the mirror, which doubled the number of aliens in the room. He remembered being floated towards this mirror. It's that ability to float people through, however this is done, we have no idea, through a closed surface. And he said he remembers as he was getting closer to the mirror, his head was up just a little bit, and he could see this terrifying face staring at him, and realized it was his face in the mirror as he was going through it. And he said as he passed through the glass, he felt as if he was going through some kind of gelatinous substance. Sometimes people describe this sort of thing when they pass through a surface, sometimes they don't. I know all this sounds totally impossible, but we get this again and again and again. Now, this particular case, and I'll just go through this rather quickly, and then we're going to get into some of the more imposing and more upsetting medical cases. This scar is on a man's back, as you can see. The man is an artist, an acquaintance of mine. He's African American. And the story of this is in itself very interesting. He came to my house once. I'll make this brief. He came to my house once and on an art issue. And he said, you know, but I think I saw you on television the other night. And my heart sank because I wanted to keep this on an art level. And he said, what is it that you do? And I sort of muttered something about UFO research. And how do you know this happens? He said. And I said, well, there are marks, there are cuts, and so. And he said, well, I had this strange cut. And I said, how did you get this cut? And he said, well, that's the thing I don't know. I was a little boy. I was about 10, and I was on my bicycle. I went into the park near his house in the Middle West. And he said, I don't know what happened, but I remember it was daytime. I remember I was in a big white space, a big white room. I don't know where it was, and I was lying down. That's all I remember. The next thing, I was walking my bicycle home. I got home very late for dinner. My grandmother yelled at me and so on. And she looked at my back at some point, and he said she found a couple of drops of blood on his T-shirt. Now, when you look at this, cut, and it's about that long. A couple of drops of blood just is extraordinary. And she said, you've cut yourself. It's a terrible cut. How did this happen? And he said to her, and he said this to me, I told her I cut myself when I fell off my bicycle. But when I said that, I was thinking, I don't remember falling off my bicycle. There was no tear in the shirt. There was no dirt on him. The bicycle was fine. And that was the end of that. It healed, and he's had that thing for 40-some years. Now, he said that the situation tormented him, and he would go back to this park again and again and again, trying to find the white place where he was. He made no connection with UFOs. And actually, when we finally began to think maybe something happened here, and I interviewed him at some length, and a few days later, weeks later, we did hypnosis. And he remembered that he was taken from this park into the craft, put on a table, and cut. He said that afterwards he was stunned and so on and so forth. And his wife said, thank goodness we know what happened. Now we won't have to go back to that damn park every time we go back to his hometown looking for that white room. He didn't know. Now, this particular cut, again, and as I say, we'll go through these fairly quickly. This is a woman who has had a number of experiences. When this photograph was taken, she had gone to bed. She had a friend visiting. She woke up in the middle of the night. She had a recollection of hands pushing her down. That's all she could remember. And then she came to herself and was back in bed. And her friend noticed this in the morning on her back, and she had no idea how this had happened. Now, what you're seeing in this is a dark bruise, but then down the middle is a straight line cut. She had no idea what happened. There was no blood anywhere, none on her nightgown, none on the floor, none on where she remembered being pushed down, none on the sheets or anything. She went to a doctor. That photograph was taken 2 days afterwards, as I said, when she was taken to the doctor, and the doctor asked her what kind of surgery she had had. And she said, I didn't have any surgery. I just woke up and there it was. And he said, no, that's a surgical cut. What happened? Now, again, in Australia, and this is a worldwide phenomenon. We've already visited in terms of scoop marks and cuts and so forth. Turkey, and now this is Australia again. And I should point out that the basic kinds of marks that we find, even though there's sets of bruises, people find fingerprints and hand marks which fade away and so on after these experiences, so there's nothing terribly mysterious about them. But in terms of these long-lasting things, they're either the round scoop mark, oval scoop mark, or a straight line cut. Now, in this particular case, this woman has a long cut with a kind of a dimple in it. This is something that happened to her. She's a nurse in Australia when she was a tiny baby and in the hospital. And when she was taken home, it was there on her leg, and her parents didn't know what to make of it and never raised any questions. She has a whole history of experiences. In many of these cases, I have to say the person remembers something about the circumstances of the night or the time that these things turned up on their body, and very often they don't. They just notice it. And in one case with a scoop mark, a man told me he was about 16 when he noticed this round scoop mark on his leg. It's not one of the things I have a photograph of. And he said he stared at it and stared at it and stared at it, and it so terrified him that he said he never wanted anybody to ever see it. He would wear long pants instead of shorts. He didn't know why he was hiding it, but he knew there was something dreadful about this mark on him. It took years and years before, you know, the patterns became a little clearer to him and he began to putting things together. Now, a close-up of this shows it's quite disfiguring, it's quite deep. I have a photograph which is extremely similar of a woman from Great Britain who has the same kind of mark at the same place on her thigh. Now, again, I want to reiterate, we do not know why they do this. We do not know why they want this level of flesh, but these are permanent marks that baffle the doctors. When we dealt with those scoop marks at the beginning, one doctor who looked at them said to me, they look like the marks you get from a punch biopsy. Did this person ever have a punch biopsy? And I said, no, these are people who had no idea how they got these things. When some of these cuts are there, they seem quite dramatic. People will say, does the person remember how they got cut, how this thing turned up? No, they don't. They don't even remember often how it happens. And I mentioned this one incident that I find very interesting. In England, I was giving a talk and I'm showing some slides about this. And a woman came up to me afterwards, and she was a woman in her 60s. She was the wife of a police inspector, a very respectable English woman. And she had remembered some conscious abduction experiences. And she actually was a speaker at this very small conference many years ago in Leeds. And she said, you know, Bud, when you show those pictures of scoop marks, I have one of those on my thigh, more or less in the same place, on the right thigh. And except this was a scoop mark rather than that straight line kind of thing. She hiked up her skirts. I didn't ask her to, but that's what happened. And there was this very large scoop mark, size of my thumbnail, with a certain depth. And I said, well, and it was actually a rather ugly thing. It's the kind of thing that this woman has never been in a bathing suit with friends where somebody didn't say, what happened to your leg? I mean, these aren't just little brushes with some kind of a briar someplace. These are really very clear and very precise. And I said, how did you get this? And she said, well, I know how I got it. I was out in the garden gardening, and she said, an earwig ran up my leg and bit me. Now, if you remember what an earwig is, it's a beetle-like thing, and it has pinchers on the back. And I said, I didn't know that earwigs bit people. And she said, I didn't either. I said, must have hurt. Oh, no, I didn't feel anything. And I said, oh, you didn't feel anything? No. And I said, well, it must have really bled. That's a big piece of flesh you lost there. She said, oh, no, it didn't bleed. And I said, did you kill the earwig? And she said, no, I don't remember ever seeing the earwig. And I said, well, how do you know an earwig ran up your leg? And she said, I just, I've always thought there was, and then she said, this isn't making any sense, is it? And I said, no, it isn't. And that's very typical of UFO experiences. Again, we don't know how this happened, why, but it is totally a medical mystery. These are not just casual things. What are they doing? Why? We do not know. But we have here what I regard as very, very serious, telling physical evidence that these are not people's imaginations or stories or whatnot. They leave behind them physical traces, which are visible, medical anomalies, which have really a great deal of mystery about them. And we need to look into these very, very seriously. We need medical help.
So, you know, abductions have been happening. We've heard the same stories over and over and over again. We've even heard the stories about moving through walls and things like that. In fact, the sighting over in New York was, what was it, the Secretary General of the UN, I think, Tim, or somebody at the UN. Yeah. He and his bodyguards actually witnessed a woman being removed from her apartment through the walls from a UFO. So we know that these things are happening. I mean, we got some people that are actually credible coming out and talking about this. We've got the hypnosis records. I mean, the Betty and Barney Hill hypnosis video or the audio or whatever. If you've never heard the audio to that, it's especially Barney Hill, it is bone chilling. I mean, he's obviously in distress, no question. Nobody could act that well. I mean, that's the thing. What are your thoughts on it, Tim?
I got to say this. I've had the bruises. I had 3 fingerprint bruises on my right thigh, 3 on my left thigh. They faded with time. I had what looked like a pie piece, clear-cut pie piece, burn mark on my right arm, upper arm, that had little squares in it, but it looked like a burn. That went away with time. And then I also have a welt in the middle of my chest on my sternum that's round with 6 puncture wounds, and that's still there to this day. I also had, like Thomas said the other day, I had 2 suture marks behind my ear indicating what might have been an implant. So I do believe in alien abduction. It is happening. There are trace evidence being left. Yes.
We've seen implants. I mean, things of that nature. They were actually emitting radio waves in a patient's body until they were removed, and then they stopped emitting the radio waves. We've seen things like this. I mean, we've studied it. We know that this is happening. It's just amazing that, well, I think one of the biggest reasons that the government is not actually coming out with disclosure is because how are you going to explain this to the public? You can be taken out of your house anytime, anywhere, any place, anytime. I mean, come on, that's going to really terrify people. So maybe that's one of the reasons they're not being very forthcoming, or haven't been, at least at this point.
I've noticed that most people, when they are approached with the subject of alien abduction, they seem to shy away because it's been either really traumatic to them in their lifetime, or they just can't wrap their head around it. And so whenever I bring it up on the channel, it seems to not get very many views because people do not want to believe in something that is so far-fetched, even if it is the truth.
That they have absolutely no control over.
Right, they have absolutely no control. And I also believe that's one of the reasons why they won't come right out and say, oh yeah, aliens are real, because they'll lose control.
This experience has been likened to rape by a lot of psychologists or whatever. It has been likened to rape because, I mean, you're being taken against your will. Something's happening. Things are happening against your will, and you have no control over it. I mean, and that's got to be the most traumatic experience for a human being to actually go through, I would think.
Sounds like assault or kidnapping, not necessarily rape.
Well, it depends on what they do to you, because there are supposedly abduction cases where alien life forms are having sexual relations.
But that wasn't part of the discussion of what we had going on here. I mean, we're talking about abduction. We're talking about medical experiments going on against people's will. It's assault. They're doing things to your body that you don't want them to. You're going willingly, but not really because you're under a mental control from them.
Right. But I am adding to the discussion the fact that there is sexual issues going on in abductions that have been reported worldwide that would also indicate a rape scenario. So yes, it's possible for both assault and rape. But look at it this way. They're taking the stuff, they're taking our tissue without asking. They're coming into your lives without asking. They're doing what they want without asking, as if we're a lab specimen. That's why I've always believed that they're indifferent toward us.
Yeah, but this could be their laboratory and we could be their rats.
Exactly.
Or we could be their project. We could be their terrarium. I mean, if you think about the human race as a whole, you've got all the subspecies and you're all living in the same planet. That would be a hell of a terrarium experiment if you were a college student, with various animals, subspecies of animals. So look at what we've got going here in our, with our humanity. I mean, it's the same deal.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, guys, any last comments?
Just wanted to go ahead and thank Maurice for coming. It was a great interview with him. Sorry we lost him. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody, thanks for coming out. If I didn't get to say hello to you, then hello from the chat room, folks. We appreciate it. And Tim, as always, my brother, thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thomas.
Yeah, sorry about my audio earlier. When my segment was cut short, I didn't realize that I still had my mic set up for when I was doing the broadcasting and stuff.
Oops. Sorry, Thomas. Not my fault. Sorry.
Oh, not a problem. So yeah, so there was an echo going. My mic was turned off, but you were hearing yourself going back through my audio routing that I have to use on a Mac that keeps it from doing it. But either way, first of all, I want to thank everybody in the chat room. It was a great show. You guys really made it for us. Julie, thank you for being here. Bobby Broadway, Harry Balls, Scratch. I'm supposed to say it in the opposite direction. Zofa, Bob Gray, Justin. Snoops. Everybody has been here. Thank you very much, Anna Ridgway. Jams, yeah, Scratch. Red Panda was here as well. You're the ones who really make our show as great as it can be, and I really appreciate everybody's involvement in the chat, in the show, and the feedback that you give us. And, we look forward to going ahead and doing a great show again next week. Tim?
Yeah, I have another thing to tell everyone. Coming up on Thursday, April 29th at 8 p.m., we're having a special live stream. We are interviewing Terry Lovelace, a gentleman who was abducted along with an Air Force buddy of his back in the early 70s during the Vietnam War crisis. He was an active Air Force medic. So he's going to come on live on Thursday, and he's going to let us know what happened from the horse's mouth himself. We're going to hear it firsthand account.
We've had a bunch of super chats. You hadn't played the super chat dance. We've had two from BB Cooper and one from me.
Okay, all righty, we'll do that. Here's the super chat dance for everybody. Okay, thank you very much for the super chats. Thanks for the heads up, Thomas. I want to thank everybody in the chat room and everybody who participated online. We really, really appreciate your patronage to our channel. And if you can, remember to go over to our new website, www.ufomannetwork.com. Check it out. We're updating it on a daily basis. We hope to grow it and make it more informative. So come on by and join the journey. And as always, thank you for being here.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.